Good Thursday afternoon, and thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Lauren Lemanchek. Happening right now, we're on verdict watch for the Derek Thompson trial. He's accused of killing 5 young women after going through a red light at 90 miles per hour and hitting their car. The prosecution and defense gave their closing arguments today. The defense claiming it was someone else behind the wheel. Now, in a surprise move, Thompson's brother DeMarco testified for the prosecution Wednesday. According to the Star Tribune, DeMarco Thompson told the jury his brother Derek was driving the Cadillac Escalade. Prior to that, the defense claimed DeMarco was actually the driver. Here's part of the closing arguments from today.
I want to be clear, there is no evidence in this case that more than one person was ever driving the Cadillac Escalade on June 16th of 2023. No one saw another driver. There's no video of another driver. This defendant selected and rented that Cadillac under his own name, paid for it with his credit card, and drove it out of the airport.
Whoever is driving that car was a knucklehead and a danger and a reckless person. But ladies and gentlemen, they simply were not acting with a depraved mind. They were not acting without regard to human life. They were trying to stop.
Today, lawmakers are back at the Capitol trying to work out their differences on a budget bill. Now they're up against a major deadline. Governor Walz says he's hopeful he can schedule a special session by tomorrow. If not, the state will be obligated to send 28,000 layoff notices to state workers on Monday, warning of a government shutdown. But one of those bills lawmakers are working to finalize deals with autism centers. Providers say the proposed new requirements could put them out of business. Danny Spiewak joins us with a closer look.
As lawmakers work toward a special session, few bills are more critical to the budget than human services.
It affects the most vulnerable people in our state.
That includes kids with autism.
I got 3 kiddos, one of whom is on the spectrum.
Nikki Hansen is also a qualified supervising professional, or QSP, who works at multiple autism centers in Minnesota.
I know I'm going to have to pull back.
She's concerned about language drafted in the Human Services bill, requiring more hours of clinical supervision and in-person visits to observe staff working with kids, among other changes.
I get what they're going for, and everybody can improve. It just doesn't work. The hours, it's impossible.
The Autism Treatment Association of Minnesota and others in the field, like consultant Jennifer Miller, warn that the requirements will overwhelm smaller providers who are already dealing with staffing shortages.
I'm worried that probably hundreds of providers will go out of business. Hundreds.
But lawmakers who wrote the provision, including DFL Representative Kim Hicks and Republican Senator Jim Abler, argue that the state's recent licensing of behavioral analysts will help smaller providers meet the new oversight requirements.
And so now they have another option. So I don't think that they're at risk. That's our belief, that there's enough staff to do that.
The bill would also require that supervisors be employees of the autism centers and not independent contractors.
The problem before is there would be people doing the observations and the supervision by Zoom, living in Florida, never even meeting the person that they were responsible to oversee.
Although the bill is nearing finalization, it won't be official until the legislature passes it in a special session.
I would beg and plead that the lawmakers would stop.
President Donald Trump held a long-awaited phone call Thursday with China's Xi Jinping. In a social media post after the call, he said he and Xi are planning to meet in person soon. In the post, Trump said the call lasted about an hour and a half, and the leaders talked mostly about trade. Here's the president shortly after announcing that call.
We had a very good talk, and we've straightened out any complexity. It's very complex stuff, and we straightened it out. The agreement was we're going to have Scott and Howard and Jameson will be going and meeting with their top people and continue it forward. But no, I think we have everything. I think we're in very good shape with China and the trade deal.
This is the first known call between the two leaders in Trump's second term. Developing right now, President Trump says he's banning travelers from 12 countries from entering the U.S. because of security concerns. That ban starts on Monday. He says each country has terrorism risks, high rates of people overstaying visas, and the inability to properly vet its citizens. The ban does not apply to lawful permanent residents, existing visa holders, and certain visa categories.
The recent terror attack in Boulder, Colorado, has underscored the extreme dangers posed to our country by the entry of foreign nationals who are not properly vetted, as well as those who come here as temporary visitors and overstay their visas. We don't want them.
That ban does not include Egypt, the home country of the suspect in that Boulder, Colorado attack. Democrats call this latest Trump travel ban a distraction from the president's massive spending bill. Some countries on the list include Somalia, Iran, and Haiti. The president's proclamation also partly restricts entry for people from 7 other countries, including Laos, Cuba, and Venezuela. That ban takes effect on Monday. Right now, an elementary school art teacher in Blaine is in jail, and he faces some disturbing charges that he took video up the dress of one of his 3rd grade students. The principal at Jefferson Elementary School tells us 56-year-old Jason Bassett is now on administrative leave. Court documents allege Bassett recorded the young girl as she washed cupboards in a classroom, encouraging her to reach higher. Search warrants show he admitted to recording as many as 20 videos in the last 3 weeks for the thrill of it. Court documents also explain how Bassett got caught, that he allegedly texted the video to his daughters on accident, then told them not to open it. Documents say his ex-wife turned him into police. Police say they're still investigating to see if there are more victims. Happening right now, some security changes are already taking shape in one of Minneapolis's largest parks. The Minneapolis Park and Rec Board just met for the first time since Sunday's mass shooting at Boom Island Park that left a woman dead and 6 others hurt. City Council member Michael Rainville, who represents that area, asked commissioners for security changes. He says he lives a block from the park and went there when he heard the shots. The park board already increased patrols and added cameras. Rainville is asking the board to close the parking lot early, adopt new technology, and get new ideas for permanent change.
I threw this idea out to the superintendent, and have your staff lead some type of task force. Let's get some neighbors involved, experts in safety, and just fix this once and for all so no one ever has to come back and address you again.
Right now, there are still no arrests in the case, but Chief Brian O'Hara tells us there's progress in the investigation. New today, a major step for Minnesota's cannabis industry. The state's cannabis license lottery is underway. Today's drawings are all about establishing a cannabis supply chain and getting the weed ready to sell. The Office of Cannabis Management will give out business licenses to cultivators and manufacturers. If an applicant is awarded a license today, it's still not a done deal. Every license given out today is conditional, subject to further review and compliance checks. Applicants need to have a plan for funding their business and running their operation, and they need to show they have a location and real estate in mind. When President Trump made the announcement last week at a steel plant in Pittsburgh that steel and aluminum tariffs will be doubled, the crowd cheered. Well, the day of those doubled tariffs on aluminum and steel becoming a real thing is here, and not everyone's cheering. Gordon Severson explains why.
We wanted to see how these new tariffs would affect local companies in our area and eventually affect us consumers. So we're going to start out with appliances.
There is obviously a lot of metal, aluminum, steel, stainless steel.
At Steve's Appliances, nearly everything you see is made of metal.
Pricing is still pretty good.
Manager Brian Hooverman says it may be a while before customers see higher prices from these new tariffs. He says the older tariffs have raised prices by about 3 to 8%, with the manufacturers absorbing a lot of the extra costs so they can stay competitive.
Everybody wants to move product, right? Everybody wants to be the biggest piece of the pie when it comes to this industry.
It's going to have an impact.
Scott Lambert with the Minnesota Auto Dealers Association says so far price increases in the auto industry have been small. And when it comes to this tariff on steel, consumers may not see higher prices for quite a while.
Steel is almost like a commodity to the manufacturers, and they buy it ahead of time when they think the price is low. So they'll be working with steel that they've already purchased.
The brewing industry, however,
the metal piece is a real component.
Is dealing with these tariffs on both the steel side with their tanks and kegs.
They're all stainless too.
And the aluminum side with their cans.
In the intermediate term, we are definitely absorbing any costs that we're taking on.
But eventually, breweries will have to pass on that extra cost to consumers because those pennies add up.
Some of our modeling shows a couple $100,000 of increased price. That's a cost that's difficult to absorb.
So with all of these industries, there's an overall theme that yes, these tariffs will likely have an impact, but it could be a while before those extra costs actually trickle down to us consumers. Gordon Severson, KARE 11 News.
New today, manufacturing giant Procter & Gamble is announcing layoffs. On Thursday, the company said it would cut 7,000 non-manufacturing jobs over the next 2 years, about 15% of its non-factory workforce. The company said it will be scaling back the number of products it produces, but it did not specify which products will be affected. The maker of consumer brands like Tide detergent and Pampers diapers has about 108,000 employees worldwide as of June 2024. Well, stick with us. We have more news and weather coming up after the break.